Thank you all for joining us. I ask as you come in to make sure you're on mute. Right now, we're preparing to go live on our Facebook. If you aren't following us at Gnashing Teeth Publishing on Facebook, we're easy to find. There's not a lot of people named Gnashing Teeth Publishing. You don't have to pick us out of the group. And it's really easy to find us, and we'd appreciate a like, give us a share, see what we're doing. All right. We're so excited to have so many people coming in tonight. It's just looks like a good group. We're excited to be here to share poetry with you. I know these are interesting times that we're living in, and I think that one of the best things is that we've been able to connect with each other, the people that we possibly wouldn't have met out in real life. So it's pretty exciting. All right. What time is it? It is straight up 6 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll just continue to admit people as they come in. And my name is Karen Klein-Tardif, and I have the distinct pleasure of being the editor-in-chief of Gnashing Teeth Publishing. We started about a year and a half ago. It was one of those things that I woke up in the middle of the night and said, I have to do this. And then a couple of days later, I called my friend Jennifer and I said, guess what we're doing? And she's like, sounds good. So that's how we got our start. We have been blessed to have so many outstanding poets that we've shared their words in our anthologies and through our online features. You can go to our website, gnashingteethpublishing.com, and you can find all of our books. And be sure to check out our features. They're right up there at the top. We have insurrection poems, poems of the day, just lots of features that you can check out. Lots of different poets from all around the world. So like I said, in just a short time, we've truly been blessed. And so we're going to start off this morning with Kaylen Rose. She'll be reading I'm so sorry. Stop. Jennifer Taylor is going to start off reading for us this morning. Sorry. Jennifer and I met in a high school creative writing class, and Kismet has brought her back to writing as well as working with me. She recently took second place in the Southern New Hampshire University Fall Fiction Contest and writes creative nonfiction as well, in addition to her poetry. She recently left Iowa for Texas to escape the cold and snow. She also loves Mexican shrimp cocktail. Who doesn't?
Hi, guys. I'm really happy to be here. Not going to sound happy because these poems are a little darker, but I'm glad to be reading tonight. The first one's called Dangle. I suffer, suspended from his body, hanged by my own desire, neck taut, twanging like a fishing line pulled tight, not with a delicious prize at the end, but caught in a tangle of slick black kelp. I dance, feet pointing hard, beat a petit battement. I know this move well, years of ballet lessons, toes searching for earth, a stump, a pebble, something to absorb the pressure for a moment. I flail, arms reaching maniacally in all directions. He is so close that I can taste him on the air. Soap, sex, weed smoke. He's so far away that I can hear my gasps for air echoing in the vast emptiness between us, and I just can't reach. You're a pretty girl, aren't you? He says. And with that, the gap closes just enough for my fingers to find purchase. I stretch, digging as far into the muscle-tattooed darkness as I can. Rummaging through his chest, I am searching for anything real. a scrap of healthy cardiac muscle hiding in the blackness, the tar, the rot. I find nothing. My hands are stuck. I dangle, suspended, trapped there. He looks into my frightened eyes and smiles. Sorry. I'm having a watery eye issue. I'm not crying, I promise. Okay, the next one is called So Sweet. Your homeboy asked you what you liked best about me, and you answered, she does what I say do. I've got news for you. I did what every boy said to do. I was born to it, laid out for my first baby pictures, a welcome mat in lace and rosebuds. Sweet Southern submission runs through my veins. Christmas morning, when you peppered shoe-shaped bruises onto my legs and back, I apologized to you for having ruined the holiday. You didn't feel like turkey, so I packed it and all the fixins, my mother's most special recipes, into Tupperware and into the fridge. We took our baby girl, picked up Chinese food, used the diaper bag to sneak it into some new sci-fi movie. I don't care for science fiction, but you'll never hear that from my mouth. Sweet Southern submission is in my bones, so much so that when you broke my arm, I denied it for almost a week. All day I cooked, cleaned, changed diapers with one hand. At night, the pain. I stuffed a handful of nightgown into my mouth, but my tears silently soaked the pillow so as not to disturb your sleep. I finally snuck out to the hospital while you were at work. Neither of us ever mentioned the cast. Next time you tell me you'll kill me, I believe I will go on and lie down in the dirt on my own. I've been slowing my heart for you little by little for years now. I never wanted to be any bother. That's it. And thanks, guys. And the last one is a new one. It's called Corral. Islanders walk past the walls, heedless of the droning that is unyielding to morning kopi or bathing or bedtime stories. Their ears have closed to protect their hearts. Locked up shop, pulled down the iron gate. Others stop in the road or their kitchen, tears forming swimming holes for gnats in the dust, or mud craters that sink and suck and rip them in two. Compartment syndrome from the crushing weight, the only cure a blade, fasciotomy of the soul. The echoic sound rushes through the treetops like tropic wind, gathering scent of nutmeg, coffee, cloves as it swirls up and over the walls. It bounces into the world across the waters like a stone hurled by schoolboys, a boulder skipping over the waves. Peals of a rusted bell mark each hour of 10 years, rude, relentless, bitter as the native cocoa, cloying miasma like honey and grease on the wind, salting the cleaved earth so that no rice will nourish or satisfy for generations. From inside, a choir of 16,000 sways together under the unmerciful sunlight, the bittersweet harmonization of shared torment, heavy pipe organ chords of an anguished hymn, pleading knell. We are hungry, we are hungry, we are hungry. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Jennifer, for sharing with us today. Sorry, my computer won't go. All right. So that was Jennifer Taylor. She is the assistant editor over at Gnashing Teeth Publishing, and we just are so glad that she shared that with us. Next up, we have Kaylen Rose. She is a writer, editor, and meditator based in Lexington, and she graduated from the University of Kentucky's MFA program in May of 2020 and has been stuck in her apartment with her dog and several bugs ever since.
That's true. Okay, so today I'm going to be reading 4 short, they're kind of prose poems that are part of a collection that I've been working on this year. So I'll just start one and read straight through. This first one is called Celibacy Day. I've been sleeping with some guy from Bumble since before the plague hit. We had our first date on Valentine's Day. I thought it would be a good story to tell the kids. The orgasms are fantastic, but I think he's training me. I don't know what for. When I'm sad, his eyes mute me. And when I'm cheerful, he says, "See, I like you when you're like this." I've tried, but I can't comply entirely. Pretending happiness makes me feel small, and you can tell just by looking at me that I'm not meant to be small. I take an injection every 2 weeks just to keep my immune system from protecting me against itself. Everything about me is intense. He isn't ready. Yesterday, I let him come over, even though he's been working at Lowe's, where masks are optional and customer traffic is high. The orgasm was fine. I don't want to see him again. Like a dummy, I lent him James Baldwin's Notes of a Native Son on his way out. I'd been reading it eagerly, underlining thoroughly. Now I'm terrified that the virus has gotten into me. I want my book back. Naked in bed, I tell the ceiling I'll be furious if I lost James Baldwin and my life to have sex with a man who wants me to act happy even when I'm not. I'm not. Independence Day. I drive through the public park on the 4th of July as America's urgent racial reckoning is in full swing. I park the car and open the back door to let the dog out. After we pass through the gates, I unhook her black leash from her hot pink harness and let her loose to check the perimeter. On the far side of the fence, family barbecues speckle the sprawling grass hills. Music and the smell of grilled meat sparkle in the air. It has been 40 days since I saw the face of someone I know. The dog sprints by, round-bodied and wiring, pausing for a moment to ninja roll in the grass. I feel a contraction in my throat. I whisper to myself, it's okay to be sad. The edges of my eyelids warm, and I wait, but no tears come. I crest a small hill. I decide to master my aloneness. Reincarnation Day. All summer, I practice omniscience. I learn everything I can about a moment. Sitting on the underwater bench in the pool, I feel my breathing start to slow. I rest my mind's gaze on the big toe of my left foot and travel upward through my pelvis into my right sinus cavity to the crown of my scalp. I listen to the radio play the same 6 songs it has played all summer. The sound of leaf blowers across the street, sirens on the highway a mile or so away. I hear metal clanging when a neighbor drops a bag of dog poop into the steel receptacle over near the mailboxes. I smell chlorine and the waft of someone's sunscreen. I taste leftover coffee in my mouth. I feel the shiver of a breeze on my wet shoulders, the gentle swaying of my body in the water. Finally, I open my eyes and find a layer of dead bugs on the surface. I think to myself, I'm surrounded by corpses. A wasp struggles on the surface. I tuck a leaf beneath its delicate, dangerous body and put it on the warm bricks of the pool's ledge. I watch it for several minutes, but it barely moves. I pick it up in its leaf cradle and carry it to the pine tree, just on the other side of the wrought iron fence. I lay its body on the soft needles of the closest branch. I lean down and whisper lovingly, be born as something nicer next time. Election Day. I scheduled a root canal for Election Day. My dentist's office is in a predominantly poor, predominantly Black neighborhood in Lexington. I'm here because Dr. Larkin takes Medicaid. The talking heads on the office TV talk about nothing because there's nothing to talk about yet. The fish in the green tank swim lethargically. It will be days before we have results. It will be months before the insurrection. The masked strangers in the waiting room seem uninterested, but I'm hoping for a specific outcome, I bet my forehead shows it. I check my phone, and the Days Counter app notifies me that it has been 164 days since my last hug. When the dentist's leg brushes against the ends of my hair as he drills past the edge of anesthesia, it feels pretty romantic. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Kaylen. Those were just wonderful. So glad you were able to be with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, coming next is Joshua Bridgwater Hamilton. He is a Louisville, Kentucky native. He currently resides in Corpus Christi, Texas. Now, somewhere between Corpus Christi and Kentucky, he found himself in Madrid, Ireland, Peru, the Philippine Islands, Appalachia, and Panama, just to name a few. Now, I had the distinct pleasure of hearing Joshua read some of his Rain Minnows at an open mic in Corpus Christi. And I was really intrigued by the sound and movement of the words. Now, as Gnashing Teeth Publishing has grown over the last year and a half, I always kept those Rain Minnows kind of in the back of my mind. And finally, the timing was right, and I approached Joshua about a chapbook. The result is what we are so proud to share with you: Rain Minnows, Notecards, and Poems. Thank you so much, Joshua, for allowing us to share your words.
All right, well, thank you so much, Karen, for that introduction. Am I audible? Okay. Yes, I would like to give a huge thank you to Gnashing Teeth Publishing and Karen and Jennifer. They have made an incredible experience out of the editing and publication of these this little collection of note card poems of mine, and I have to say that it's just been a fantastic experience to work through all the different steps of making this book with them. And I have to say I could not be more pleased with what came out of all this. So it's a beautiful little artifact, and I'm very proud of it, and I'm very grateful to Gnashing Teeth Publishing for working with me on this. I would also like to say a warm-hearted thank you to Kaylen for also being part of this event. Your poems and those of Jennifer's are absolutely gorgeous, and I am lucky to be in the company of such poetry. So thank you so much for being part of this. Just a few notes before I start into reading a few of the poems. I'm going to take a selection of the poems from the chapbook and read those. Before I go into this, there's a few things I like to say about it generally. One of those things is that the origin of these particular texts lies in a certain format that I picked out in order to kind of give myself some definition and give myself an achievable goal each day that I could hit. And so in trying to think this through, what I came across, and this isn't original or unique or anything, but what I came across was the idea of taking note cards and using the note card itself as a formal limitation or a formal definition for what I was writing. The note cards I was using were the 3x5. I still use them, actually, the 3x5 inch note cards, and they have 9 lines on them. So all these poems tend to be right at about 9 lines long. I, at the time, had a lot of things going on. I'm sure all of us always have a lot of things going on, but in this particular period, I really was trying to find some way to keep my writing activity live going, and that's kind of what I picked out, was taking those to take those note cards and to just fill one each day. That's all I had to do. It didn't have to be good or anything. I just needed to fill those parameters and then let it go. My technique was to take a word, one specific word that really caught my attention, put it at the top above the 9 lines of the note card, bracket its first letter, and then I alphabetize them when I finished by bracketing that letter. And then I would go through and focus on the density of the vocabulary. I was going for not transparent necessarily, but more opaque syntax, something that would allow me to kind of stop or create a resistant reading as I read through it myself, and something that was interesting in that sense. And in a general sense, also, a lot of these note card poems tended to be meditations on the strangeness or the beauty and the layered quality of my life at the time and life in general, and the vehicle of language, the power of signification, and how you can use that, or you can foil that also to communicate this fragmentation and this layering that sometimes becomes overwhelming. So I was thinking about those things and shooting for some of those things as I was filling these note cards out. And I also always seem to bounce off of a sense of the overwhelming consumer culture we live in, and I certainly enjoy and am taken with myself. But then I also have a lot of moments when I want to stop and resist that that kind of enchantment. And so a lot of these were focused on kind of resisting that and finding another way to desire, so to speak. I'm going to start and just pick out about 10 or 12 poems throughout in order throughout the collection. And the first one I'm going to start with is Birthday Note. This is a little poem that I wrote on the occasion of a good friend of mine at the time. And it's called Birthday Note, note card number 29. And there is an original numbering to all these, and some of them have slipped out, but most of these still pertain to an original chronological order with those numbers. So Birthday Note, note card number 29. Earth breathes you, fills you taut the circumference of sound, arpeggioed such thrumming sails till rips trebly tattered. But take now pressure, vibe, rhythm, and enchant this you song into air, into lung we breathe. The next poem I'm going to read is called, I call it Evolution of the Lunger. In this poem, you will notice that there's a juxtaposition and superimposition of specifically two different languages, Spanish and English. And this speaks to other things that I sense going on in the way a lot of these note card poems talk to each other. And that was that they tended to play with that juxtaposition or superimposition of memory, experience, space, and relationships. So at this time that I was writing these, especially, I was still very deeply involved in reading a lot of Spanish language literature, especially poetry. And I've always been involved in Spanish language relationships, but I was much closer to a period when I lived in Spain. And that just naturally tended to come out in the way English and Spanish intertwined for me as I was writing at times. So you'll notice that happens here. So Evolution of the Lunger. Esta tormenta huddles its tortoise shell. Over the shocked birth, un pez, a floodsy gripe, un grito, then ponderosa bass fills the looming sangre en el templo. Suspira, because it's back again, mouth gaping, boca grande, suffering oxygen instead of pure water. Agua, aquatic. The fish swimmer lives between clear current and mirror sky. El cielo, la corriente, pasos pesados, llenando sin hueco. This next one is called Tryst, Flirted, Fled. And I picked this one because my sister said she liked it best, and I think she's actually even on here. So this one's for you, Ellen. Tryst, Flirted, Fled. And what you'll notice here is that there's a character that pops out named Johnny. And to a certain degree, I have some various alter egos running around in some of these poems. That's a little bit of a nod to John Berryman and his dream songs, but also a way to kind of work with certain things in one's life. So Trist flirted, fled, leaving no leavings to find her trail again. Johnny turned his coat collar against the cold, painstakingly, folded warm penumbra away from wind-chill thoughts. Bells, flags, hulls lapped at the moon surge in Winter Harbor. Husbanded to exotic rhythms, he knew the hold settled in the quick water, and he lurched forward toward the slip. Okay, this next one, here, in a lot of these, there's an enumeration of objects. And sometimes I'm enumerating material objects and their existence from the past, from my past, from my family's past. And sometimes it's a critique, but sometimes it's actually enumerating those things as a alternative or a contrast or a resistance to the level of, or the flood of objects and consumption I experience in our present. So this is one where that happens. Wreckage of the bright remains. Note card number 25. Lava land of touch screens and action figures sinks memory's charred bedrock and floods on through the zen slap of unshared reality. Out of bright remains dishwater, wood crates, jam jars, where grandma's Baptist ghost sparks out along the wire, lighting up plugins, frozen preservatives, candidates. Okay, there's 3 sections, by the way. I just went through the first section. This one's in the second section. It's called Deader at Morning. Iron smelted air beyond the cracked window thickens megaphone rattle of morning. Against this thin trickle of neck, starvation burnished warm, red-pressed tongue, you, my friend. But who's barbaric here? Who the wise cutting down the middle thorax, bleats of night departure? Who the task of day, its chest cracked wide, my foolish pinned crumpled sheets, fool dissecting limb of lamb? Or they that there expect the daily libation, feet strapped up, veins poured open. I'm probably gonna mention this at some point later, but hangovers tend to be a recurrent theme at times in some of the poems. All right, okay, this is called Dia de los Muertos. And this particular poem is in the spirit of Dia de los Muertos, dedicated to a friend that was very dear to Manny and who was lost in a car accident in 1996. This is for Clay Blankenship. Lank hair, sweet smirk, tipped cup of secrets saluted into saucer full of smoke. Lake night camping in Spanish. Bajo las estrellas hablamos hasta el amanecer de Lorca y las cosas que todavía no habían pasado. The half-woven verses left to me and the sucked riptide of his passing, intimate silk spun from Ariadne of friendship's tuition that goes on unthreading each next seam I go sealing in my crafty, sullen heart. Okay, the next one is called Lament for the Unknown Dead. And some of these poems, there's two poets that show up in epigraphs at times. One of them is named Jose Maria Alvarez, and the other one Angel Gonzalez. And this one has an epigraph by Jose Maria Alvarez. And they're 2 Spanish poets. Angel Gonzalez is just like one of the gods of Spanish poetry in Spain. Jose Maria Alvarez was grouped in this group in the 1960s and 70s. Not that anybody belonged in that group, but it was a way of talking about people at the time, called the Novísimos. But he used a lot of epigraphs as well in his poems. And I was reading a lot of him and Angel Gonzalez. So that's where some of these epigraphs come from Sometimes I like to put an epigraph from a poem down that I've been reading and respond to it in a poem. And that's a really good strategy if you're working on writing poems sometimes and you've also got a reading list. So you just grab things every once in a while and react to them. Lament for the unknown dead. Oigo la vida en mi carne, es su rumor que amo. José María Álvarez.
我老了，小蝈蝈来没哟，听没说来没哟，好些妹子来哟哟咦，三儿戳戳来没哟咦哟，三儿人身材没哟，多苗条来没哟，一不灵啊听来哟哟咦，门嘴儿多来没哟。
Can you hear me
阳
still?
出来哟，红丢丢来没哟，我家有个没哟哟咦，小板酒来没哟咦哟，吃吃板酒没哟，嘴嘴馋来没哟，专吃美酒。
Sorry about that. I found somebody that was unmuted and now they're gone. So
Okay, I'm sorry, that might have been my daughter.
okay.
Sorry about that, my apologies.
What's up?
Okay.
No,
I
there was
think
there was someone that was unmuted and I believe it was them, but they're gone now. So
that was my daughter. I apologize.
sorry about that.
Okay. So let's start this again. Lament for the unknown dead. Oigo la vida en mi carne, es su rumor que amo. José María Álvarez. Fortunate for soundbite's sake and tremulous with chimney steam, these momentary morning rumors light up the tremor and down the shakes. The grip of hand rattles glass because we are less this day and grave to the forgetting, while yet someone else speaks, cries, screams, and the busyness of regeneration floods again the electric hollow of awakening. Okay, this one is called, this one's called Past Mercy, note card number 20. You weren't there when the phantom voided into grainy photographic implosion. So I emptied the bottle myself at the faded voice, rain and whiskey crackling in your honor, I swear. This next one is called Opuscule for Dream Sand. And an opuscule, in musical terms, is just a really short work, a short work dedicated to something. So Opuscule for Dream Sand. Shall I tell you how it dreamed? Trees made of sand tiered their downfall billow. Topoi of trout clean stream, dale dallied hill. Choked out all by regularity beneath the form, exact grainy land, voices stuttering magma, soft fire rain, I tripping this eternity through, animal with legs trap mauled, oh tangled undergrowth, oh continuity, persons stick upended in this quicksand, stirring it about face, when I left myself arguing with one, becoming one, his melting words my face cupping to let the insolence of dawn ungrain the silicone divine. All right, this next one is called Weekend. It's a play between a week end to something, like not a strong end, but a weekend, and the weekend of the week. And this is where the comic comes in. Hangovers are a theme here. So Weekend. Saturday filament strung out in a sweaty bed. Eternal thread weaving together a bore hoard of grimy lung heaves. treasure troves of resurrection, ground into the fine, repeated puncture of waking half crocked to the divided blank of evening, and walking full tilt into the dank cotton hours, death masked for sleepwalking grimaces, where vicious argonauts plunge down the watery defile, stripping the body of all its foci. Oh, Sunday, bone-horned, Sunday, all your cast blame, lowered, groundward, charging. Okay, this one is another one with a character in it. Oración Vagabunda from Jaime to his beloved. Note card number 23. Into a mist and hazy sand, go forth impure food and restless inventory of shopkeep items. Empty from my cavern and desire ink pots, exquisite bolts of cloth, the lacquered taffies, to leave in full resound of space the kinder nomad walled with cloth.
Dick! I am a menace, smacking this walls like.
It makes an interesting collage. Okay, let's see here. I'll start this one over again. Hopefully I'm not going on too long here. Yeah, we only have one more after this. So, Oración Vagabunda from Jaime to his beloved. Note card number 23. Into a mist and hazy sand, go forth impure food and restless inventory of shopkeep items. Empty from my cavern and desire ink pots, exquisite bolts of cloth, the lacquered taffies. To leave in full resound of space the kinder nomad walled with cloth. His sun-tanned voice draws excellence from walking, unfettered gazing, sightless upon another body and sense. But this next poem is called Night Crystals, and it is this is the last poem called Night Crystals, and it's the actual ending poem to the collection itself. And also, surprisingly and coincidentally, fairly appropriate for our last week of weather here. So, Night Crystals. Walk into new snow, night of mirror, blank page, and rustle of warm chest kernel, where frost fingers breach the numb into snow sphere and crystal cackle. The park wears a bright mantle, offers jagged sound prints within pink flesh of city, where our pulse scribbles the small hollows, typocryptic shedding of muscle memory into the congress of bows. Our chorus settles with a long creaking sigh. And that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening.
All right. Thank you so much. It was just wonderful. Sorry for those random interruptions. I guess that's the
Some of it might have somebody in my clan might have something to do with that. I don't know.
I think we got a couple of those spam bots that came in, but we've dispatched with them. So
Good.
just want to remind everybody, this is it. Rain Minnows, Note Cards and Poems. And I would also like to say this gorgeous cover right here with the little minnow creeping around the back. This actually came from Joshua's wife, Letitia, and we were so honored to have her amazing work to be able to feature that with his words. So I think it really kind of set the whole theme for the book for us. And thank you.
I that was a beautiful. I thought that was a gorgeous cover. I think she did an amazing job. Pretty cool. I am also getting a confirmation that was indeed not our daughter that went. You're right. There must have been some sort of bot or something that came in on that. But it was interesting. It would have been nice to just kind of weave it through and make it all one texture. Just wasn't stopping.
Someone asked how much is Rain Minnows. It is $10. You can go to gnashingteethpublishing.com and order it there. We will be happy to get that out to you. And now I'm going to open it up to, does anybody have any questions for Joshua or any of our other poets? We're here to answer any questions, burning questions you may have. So, all right. Well, we got a wonderful thanks, Kaylen, Joshua, and Jennifer. Congrats. And that's from Margaret Jones Callahan. Thank you so much for those kind words. All right.
I've got a question. Kaylen, I read a few poems of yours online, but the ones you read today were prose poems. Is that something you recently started doing, or have you always been doing that?
It's pretty recent development. It's happened over the last year. I've been wanting to try creative nonfiction, and so prose poetry was like a natural bridge.
Was that something that had something to do with the pandemic? It motivate that, or does that?
I don't know if it was a direct motivation. I just, since I had graduated from school, I've had a lot of time, so I had the opportunity to experiment. Yeah.
Nice. Those are beautiful.
Thank you.
Tom Murphy is asking Joshua, how many cards did you write to create the book?
There are probably, in the book itself, there are probably about 25 to 28, I would think. It's 31 pages. There are about 27 or so in the book. Now, to make that, I had probably 40 to begin with, and of course, various revisions on working through ones that did seem to survive the editing process. And I've actually got, we have at the House of Card catalog, an old, wooden card catalog with about, I don't know, 8 across and 6 down or something, catalog shelves. And one of those is filled with note cards that are not note card poems. So there's a lot of them in the archive, so to speak. But these are kind of the ones that after I had gone through a stack of them several times, these are the ones that survived. And of course, they also had many revisions on most of them. Thank you, Tom.
All right, this one is for all three of our readers today. As writers, how does it feel to read on Zoom like this? So who wants to answer first?
I'm going to answer first, even though I'm the least likely candidate, because I'm seriously introverted. And Karen knows that I have been nervous. I'm always so nervous, and I have a glass of wine, and that helps a little. But that's it. And the feedback I get always makes it so worth it.
And I will say, if you have not had a chance to go over to the website there, Southern New Hampshire University, Jennifer, if you can find that link real quick and throw it up in the chat where they can read your second place work, Eggshells. She's not just a poet, she's also a writer, and it is an incredible piece. So definitely recommend you check that out.
In responding to the question is also, at this point, depending on what you do, there's a certain normalcy that's coming on with this kind of interaction. And I find I haven't read on Zoom much. This is one of the first times actually I've read on Zoom, I believe. There may have been one other time with one of Alan's monthly readings, but I find in a way it's almost easier to concentrate on the reading sometimes itself. If you're shy, for instance, it might be a little easier to kind of block what's going on and focus on what you're communicating. But then on the other hand, it can be a little sterile too. It's nice to have the there's the pros and cons because you can reach more people. And then on the other hand, you can't really reach out and touch them literally. So
This was my first time reading on Zoom too, and I just feel really lucky that I get to read at all. It's been so long, and so just always good practice to do it. And yeah, and I really love that I get to read with people who I wouldn't get to read with, you know, because of geographical constraints. So yeah, it was really fun.
All right. Did we have any more questions? I don't see any coming through on Facebook. I know we've had some people on Facebook watching live also. Not see any questions in there. So I will let you know that we will be posting this as a video on our Facebook so you can refer back to it later. And you can also find it on our YouTube once I get it uploaded over there. Give us a few hours and we'll have it on our Gnashing Teeth Publishing YouTube. There's also a reading from our first anthology that Gnashing Teeth Publishing ever did that was called Heat the Grease. We're frying up some poetry, and we had a lot of poets come and read their work from that. That was a lot of fun. And I see that Jennifer has posted Eggshells, the link to read Eggshells if you're wanting to get into that. And I guess that's it for tonight. Please spread the love and let everybody know Rain Minnows is available. You can find it on our website. The link is in the chat, so grab that link before you go. And we really appreciate our poets coming out. Thank you again, Jennifer and Kaylen and Joshua, for coming out tonight.
thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming and joining us tonight.
It was a great reading.
Thank you.
You'll have a good night.
Good
Thank you
job,
all.
Joshua. Loved
Thanks,
it.
everyone.